Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, and we are continuing, as you probably may know, that Mike has his favorite beers. They all tend to be English styles, and he's dialing in his brown ale. This is brown ale number 1 of probably 5,000, but and 5,000s before, but certainly. This is iteration 1 of like learning how he can dial in all his favorite flavors in a brown ale, and I get to come along for the ride.
Yeah.
And so do you through the television screen that you're looking through.
So,
all right, Mike, what's this all about?
I'm just becoming more and more, a little bit more focused and obsessed with sessionable ales. And there's a handful of styles that I just really love. Brown ale is one of them, but over the last several years, I haven't brewed a ton of them. So again, just like we were talking about my best bitters, I sort of have been looking back at a lot of historical recipes, and there's a lot of great stuff in there, but I figured I'm going to just focus on rebuilding the brown ale based on what I know and try to this is recipe exploration and just tweaking stuff until you have a beer that is perfect for what you want it to be. For me, a perfect brown ale has got a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of like soft toast, and then just an underlying caramelness to it. Right? To me, that's the perfect brown ale. So let's dive into this recipe. So this is neither really British or decidedly American. The problem with American brown ale, when you look at the guidelines, the gravity's higher. The hopping, for me, has got no place in a brown ale, so I don't need a truckload of those hops in a brown ale for me. So it's a little bit of blending American cleanliness in the beer for like fermentation, and then coupling that with like those British flavors in the malt profile. That's what I love. So this is 5.5 pounds of the Valley malt pale malt, again, because I've got a ton of it.
Yeah.
But I actually am finding that I do love it. It's like just a notch below Maris Otter in terms of what it delivers. It's nice. It's light enough to work in like an American pale ale, but it just brings a little something more than like raw 2-row. So for this type of thing, I think it works. Then it's 8 ounces of Crystal 60, because I think that's like almost the perfect wheelhouse for brown ale. It's 4 ounces of biscuit malt, just because I'm not, just in case that Valley pale malt isn't bringing enough of that toast to the party. And then this is just 3 ounces of crisp chocolate malt at 450 Lovibond. Okay. So that's
where the color is.
That's where it's all coming from, right? Yeah. I've played a lot in the past with like American chocolate malt, which is usually about 350. But I had plenty of this on hand, so I wanted to sort of drive this. Again, it's that play between American and British type of malts. I took a lesson out of my cream ale playbook, and this is Liberty hops. 34 grams in a 3.5 gallon batch, so that's an ounce, not quite an ounce and a half. At 5.6 alpha acid for 60 minutes. The rough IBUs here is 30. That's what I was targeting, like I've mentioned before. I think I just need about 30 IBUs to be happy. Again, this is Mangrove Jack's Empire Ale Yeast. 152 for 60 minutes, 168 for 10 is my mash schedule. Starting gravity on this was 1048. This guy fermented down to 1009.
Okay,
all right. So for an ABV about 5.1, 5.12%. So I'm happy with that.
Yes.
So that's nice.
Water chemistry.
A little more water chemistry experimentation going on behind the scenes. So this, again, I'm using, I always use this generic spring water. This has 3 grams of gypsum and 1 gram of calcium chloride. I added that to the kettle. There were no salts in the mash.
Okay.
And that's the deal. So
I'll ask you a question about that,
Okay.
but let's talk about this beer.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful color. It's clarifying nicely.
Yeah, this one is really dropping.
Yeah.
out.
A little bit of red highlights there. I mean, it's a nice brown, dark amber color.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. I was gonna say, like, the
Project over.
throw it out. Okay, that's it. On the nose, those hops are coming through. I was trying to capture what the hops were, and I know that I can pull out Liberty hops, but I think because of the caramel backbone, it was very hard to distinguish what the variety was. Anyway, they play nicely. They play nicely on the aroma too. Getting a little bit of the caramel note on the nose too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. Mostly it's the hops. And then the biggest takeaway I have from this is just, I don't know if it's just a little bit of chocolate along with the 60 caramels or the Crystal 60, whatever you're using. That just blends, and that's like the major note that I'm getting in the forward flavor and then in the aftertaste too. Like I said, the Liberty hops play nice with all the malt flavors, and it finishes pretty dry, and yeah, it makes me want to drink a whole bunch of these.
Super drinkable, super drinkable. I think compared to what I'm used to playing with in the past, I think using the English slightly darker chocolate malt, certainly, because it's not, there's not any roastiness coming from that malt, but there is, between this and the biscuit, there's a nice toastiness. And then whatever residual sweetness you've got from the C60 sort of keeps those two things in check a little bit. The three of those things sort of balancing together pretty nicely, so that for me, when I taste it, it is very brown ale right away off the bat. I think for me, I think the color is spot on where I expect it to be. I really didn't expect to sort of hit it as close to what I want it to be. But it's really close. I think comparing this to the beer we did the week before, you can now taste, because it's the same yeast profile, it's a different hop, but just that little addition of calcium chloride, a little bit more chloride in there, has now really smoothed out the beer, and it's not as sort of flat or just one-dimensional. I think it's allowing all those other things to sort of support a little bit more. So while my water chemistry experiments are really focused on attenuation and the essentially, let's just call it the sugar profile for attenuation, those things do impact flavor, right? And so in this example, there is a really nice enhancement. There's enough sulfate in there to support the hoppiness, but it's mostly about getting the calcium in there with the gypsum, and then that calcium chloride is just, the chloride content in there is just almost perfect, I think, for bringing those malt flavors out.
So my question is, you said you didn't add it in the mash. These were kettle seasoning.
Sure.
You know,
I hate that terminology.
I know, but
that's what people call it.
When we've talked about water chemistry and adding these things to the water, you know, we've talked about like adding it to the mash, or you can just throw it in the kettle and have it affect your finished beer.
Absolutely.
You know, without it having any effect to the mash. What was your decisions of adding it just to the kettle?
Based on what I knew from the last beer and several beers before this, not to tip all my cards, but looking at pH, realizing that, you know what, let me just see what happens with spring water if I just go for it and see what happens. And then I'll add the salts I want to add afterwards. It really wasn't thinking about it from a standpoint of, or I'm just adding these things for flavor. I mean, that's essentially what is happening. But I just wanted to see what attenuation would look like if I didn't do anything in the mash necessarily. Now, granted, it's really soft water, and malt wants to become beer, so you mix it with water and you do your thing. Because there are salts coming from the malt. Sure. There is some salt in the water itself. But I just wanted to see if like it was going to be way off base. I just got really lucky. I got really lucky that it all worked the way I had hoped it would work. I didn't predict that it would. I don't know what the pH of this was per se. I didn't really check it accurately, but but I think in this beer, because it has the caramel and the chocolate malt in it, those things probably help drop my pH to the right level without the addition of more calcium. When you add calcium to the mash, it frees up, it interacts with phosphates to create calcium phosphate type molecules. But in process of reacting with the phosphate has hydrogen attached to it. The hydrogen releases from the phosphate, and that's what's acidifying your mash. These malts tend to have more acidic components to them anyway, so they drop the thing. So I was just like, you know what, let me take a step back from trying to use calcium as a precursor to getting my pH to drop. I just wanted to see, again, this is a project that I figured this would just be
step one.
Who knows what was going to happen?
Right.
But I'm really have to now go back and look at why did this work out as well as it did based on attenuation, right? Like, because that's a really good attenuation too. 1048 down to 1009, 1010 essentially is another good attenuation. For me, getting down under 1015 is like great. I think beers that attenuate down to 1012, 1010 are just easy to drink. They're easier to hold on to. I think it limits a certain amount of bloating and stuff like that. So yes, the reality is I like session beers because of their low ABV. If you can brew them really well, they should be really light on you as well, right? And so I'm getting older anyway, and I still love drinking beer. I still like drinking beer, but I just don't like the hop burn from some of those beers. And I just love malt. I love playing with different malts, so that's what this is.
Okay, I'll ask one last question. What, if anything, would you change for step 2 in this project? Because I think that you've got the proper quantities of malt.
It's close.
I don't know if you want to.
I think I want a little more caramel note.
Okay.
I just want a touch more caramel note. It's there. I just want it to be a little bit more. So I'd probably bump it up another percentage point or 2. So what did I use in here? 8 ounces in a 3.5 gallon batch. So maybe I'd kick that up to 10 ounces and just see where that goes. I would probably, I don't know if I would play with my water chemistry a little bit more here, but I think this is ready for, again, yeast choice. Right?
Yeah.
I think this is pretty good,
Yeah.
but I think there are slightly better yeasts to go.
I was going to say, if there was one tweak I'd tell you, it's like this mangrove Jeff. Let's get go.
Yeah, no, it's just because it's what I had in the fridge, But it's worked out in this one, so.
It worked out okay.
I don't know. I think it's pretty much spot on. Maybe I would swap out the Valley Pale Malt for Marisada and just see if does that take it too biscuity? I just want to sort of understand that.
Sure.
And then I can always come back to this afterwards. I love the 450 Lovabond chocolate. I think that's working. Like I said, the total color is good. I might need to pull back on the chocolate if I go up in the crystal, but I'll see how much it changes the SRM. Probably won't really change it more than a point or 2.
And you're pretty hop agnostic. I think that you're not someone who's going to stick with Liberty. If you need to change it to something else that's in that realm.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's still in that realm, but like bumping this over to like Willamette, something like that. Cluster might be a little bit too chewy,
catty.
Yeah. But Willamette might work well. I don't know if people like that zestiness. Like I'm not a big fan of it, but like Northern Brewer, I've seen that in America. Maybe I would play just one time with a little bit of Cascade if I wanted to lean more American, or at least these are the ways to take this in different directions, right?
Yep.
I could do a 60-minute and then like a decent 10-minute edition with EKG and really make it seem like a British, right? But then the exact same recipe, you kick that over with this a little bit of like Cascade or Centennial, and it would feel more American for sure, right?
Yeah. Are Glacier hops still available?
Yeah, I've seen those around. Yeah.
Maybe that's something.
Very possible.
Very possible.
Yep.
All right, I know what I'm talking about. All right, so that's step 1, a very large step. You thought this was going to be a baby step, and you're like, all right, I kind of hit it.
Yeah.
Ish. Small adjustments to be made.
I learned something from all of the historical recipes.
I was going to say 5,000 times. Now this is 5,001 for the next 5,000, I guess. Certainly, I don't know. Definitely hit the malt bill. Yes, I'm pretty sure you could figure out different yeast strain and adjust some things on the water chemistry, which I'm sure will be revealed in some large video. sometime soon.
Sometime soon.
Sometime soon. All the learnings.
Need some more data points.
Yeah, so I was going to say, well, that just
Collecting
means
data.
I was just going to say that's just code for more beer. All right, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We do this kind of thing every single week. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.